Hey there, it's Clint with Clint's Classic World. I want to talk briefly about the differences between 383 and 440 engines. Now, I'm not going to get into great detail here. I want to show mainly just visual differences between the 383 and the 440. This is basically a 101 class introduction to 383 and 440 differences. There's so many similarities, things that these things share between a 383 and a 440 engine. Subscribe to my channel. Let's go move forward and let me show you some quick, easy ways to tell the difference between a 383 and a 440.
Okay, so here we have a 383. Okay, 383 Mopar. These are known also as the B engines. The B engines were 361, 383, and 400. I'm going to come in here and just note here some parts that are a little bit different than a 440. And we'll look closer here at a 440 in a moment. But if you look right here at this area, normally 440s will have a pad area right here. So that is not there. And you can see this little piece here, this casting that sticks out. That is very common. That's what you'll see on a 383. Also, it does share some similarities. Let's look here. The water pumps, and if you notice, there is the oil pump here. It's external from the engine. On the outside here, the oil pump is on the outside here of the engine. That is similar to the 440. This, of course, is a 383 that had a 2-barrel intake. They do share some of the heads as well. Also, they do share similar 727 bolt-up pattern to the transmission. They're both big block, and they will fit, as well as a 426 Hemi as well will fit this big block transmission. The housings fit on a 383 or a 440 for a transmission. You will have different chassis numbers, of course. This is why I've had people email and say, hey, I'm having a hard time finding the differences. There's a lot of similarities, but some of the differences are internal. This is similar how this would bolt up. The distributor is installed from the front and is not in the back. Again, the casting will be different, the casting numbers, but the main thing that you see on 440 and on 426 Hemi is there will be a pad right here, and let's go take a look at that. So let's go look at a 440. Here is a 440. If you look here, here is a pad right there. See this pad? Okay, notice, we're going to zoom in. If you look there, this one has a stamp, and you actually see the 440 stamped on the pad, and it actually says F, which in this regard, that is for the year. F actually represents 1970, so this block would actually be for a 1970 year vehicle, and it's a 440. As you can see, similarities how this bolts up in the front. Water pump is very similar. You have the oil pump on the outside of the engine. A lot of similarities. Again, let's walk around the back. Bolt pattern is similar to bolting up to the transmission. A lot of similarities, but yet the internals are definitely different. But that's how you can tell between a 440 is if it has this pad and a 383 does not. Also, a 426 Hemi will also have this pad. So you'll just have to take a look at that. Of course, this shares different casting number, and I will list those casting numbers here for you momentarily. I mentioned before that the 383 was a B engine. Well, this 440 is an RB engine. An RB meaning raised block, okay? That would also contain the 413 and the 426. Something to understand is some of the parts are not interchangeable from the 383 to the 440, or these for these B blocks to the RB blocks, you know, if I want to talk that way. Some of those things would be, for example, the crankshaft. The crankshaft, it has different main bearing journals, so it's just you can't interchange it. But as you can tell, many things are used. Like you have the water pump, you also have the external oil pump, things of that nature. Heads, some of the heads are interchanged, so it does share some similarities, yet there are definitely some differences. Also, some more differences are the bore and stroke of these engines are different from the B series engines and the RB series engines. They're different. Some are similar, yet different. So, for example, the bore is similar for the 383 to the 426, but the stroke is different. So it's just a different animal. These are different animals. So that goes in regards also to the other blocks. You have your 440, and in this instance the 440 bore is different than the 383 bore, even though the 426 shares a similar bore, but the stroke is different. Okay, so the stroke here on the raised blocks, basically the 413, 426, 440s, those are all consistent. Those are similar. The stroke on the B blocks, those are all consistent. Okay, those are all similar, which would be the 361, the 383, and the 400. Let's take a look here at a 361. So here is a 361, which would be the B block. If you notice, come right here, you see right here, it has that same raised area right here, that same raised area that the 383 had, where the distributor hold down bracket was located. You can also tell, you can also see here, here's the pad on this 361. Notice that there are markings on that pad. That's also a place to look on a 383 to check for markings as well, for stampings for the block. Let's take a look at the casting numbers and the dates on the side of the block. Now this block is more clean, this 440. So if you look right here, you can see casting number and date in the block. Here again, if we go to the other side, but there's again the casting number on this 440 block. Understand that when you look at those casting numbers and those dates, They correspond to when the block was cast, but they does not mean that was the year of the vehicle it went into. So if it was cast, let's say in 1969, that doesn't mean it went into a 1969 vehicle. Okay? It could have gone into a 1970 vehicle. There are many blocks that were cast the year before or months before they actually were put in a vehicle, and so you have to look at stamping such as what's similar to this right here on the pad where it says F440, F meaning for 1970, and those letters are relevant up to, I believe, J, but for each year it would be different. So E would be 1969, and so on and so forth. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on differences between 383 and 440 engines and blocks, understanding RB and B blocks. Try to keep it simple. It's hard to because there's so much information, but I really didn't get in depth. For all that, don't crush them, restore them. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.